In your auto watch tonight, we are now in the third week of the UAW strike against Detroit's Big Three.
So far, around 25,000 auto workers have walked off the job at 43 plants and factories.
Joining us tonight over Zoom to break down today's developments is Paul Eisenstein, editor-in-chief of Headlight.news. Thanks for being with us, Paul.
Good to be with you.
Glad to have you. So first, from a new estimate from the Anderson Economic Group, they're putting the economic costs of this strike at nearly $4 billion so far, which is a ton.
Yeah.
And to see that there's no end in sight, we're wondering how this could continue to go. How sustainable for both sides do you think these strikes could be as it stretches on?
Well, it's certainly hurting both sides. The UAW, each time they add a new worker to the line, the picket line, of course, it adds to their strike fund that they have to keep paying out. So they don't want to add too many more people too quickly. That's why we have seen a very staggered stand-up strike, as they're liking to call it. For the companies, of course, this can be adding up eventually to hundreds of millions, billions of dollars in lost sales. But for the companies, they look at it as trying to stand their ground, facing the prospect of increasing their costs so much that they won't have the money left, they claim, to invest in a very, very costly future. And that's why, no surprise, that suddenly electric vehicles have taken the center of the negotiations.
Yeah, speaking of EVs, Paul, there's been quite a bit of back and forth, especially in the last few days, between UAW President Shawn Fain and Ford CEO Jim Farley. What do you think there is to that argument? Shawn Fain is saying that Farley has acknowledged that 40% of jobs, union jobs, would be lost in this transition to EV, and that's something we keep hearing. Is there truth to that?
The number that he's quoting, 40%, seems to be a little high. With an asterisk on that, because all the automakers, starting with Tesla, have been looking for ways to lower the production costs of EVs. We know that EVs ultimately are simpler to build. An awful lot of the moving parts that you have in a regular gas vehicle go away. And a lot of the parts, like individual batteries in the pack, those can be done by automation. How many jobs? Well, we don't know. It would be significant, however, and it's clear that the union wants to try to reduce the impact on jobs. One possible way is by shortening the work week, so you need more workers to make the same number of vehicles, even after you make production cuts, improvements to productivity.
Now, hypothetically speaking, even if they were to come to some kind of agreement soon, given how much money this is costing by the day, do you see this still having a far-reaching ripple effect in a negative way?
Oh, yeah. There's no question that we're already feeling this across the country. The more plants that go down, the more workers on strike. There's a spin-off effect. According to the industry, about 11.5 workers are impacted by each worker at one of the big three automakers. In other words, if all the UAW workers were to go out, about 150,000 working for the big three, we'd be approaching 2 million people in one form or another who make their livelihood based on the big three automakers. And by the way, that's further compounded because you have the coffee shops, the bars, the stores that are near the plants, the places that people may take their vacations and so on. So the ripple effect from this can really very quickly add up, and to an economy that people have been worried for a long time might be bordering on a recession. If this thing grows, and if it spreads out, if it takes in more plants and it lasts for more than another couple of weeks, the impact in the economy could be severe.
So, Paul, only about 25,000 UAW workers are on strike as of now. And as you just noticed, there are still a lot more who could be called to strike. Do you think that Fain would at any point ramp up how these waves work if it is expanded past more than just a few thousand at a time? Do you think at any point he would ever say, okay, everybody walk off the job?
At some point, he may have to call the industry's bluff. On the other hand, the big three automakers may be calling his. That is such a large workforce. Remember, in the past, even though we've seen long strikes, GM was hit with what, a 40-day walkout in 2019. It would be nowhere near as big a strike, nor would it eat into the union's strike fund as quickly.
Is this like anything you've seen before?
No, no, absolutely not. This is a first ever case where the UAW has targeted all three automakers at the same time. It's a rather fascinating approach, and if he gets anywhere near what he expects, he'll never get everything. But if Sean Fain gets near to what he expects, he's going to go down in history as really changing the game when it comes to negotiations with a powerful industry. And I would expect that it will position him and the UAW in a very, very significant role, setting the stage for an increasingly active labor movement across the United States.
Yeah, it certainly seems like a very active moment right now. I've heard Striketober being thrown
Yeah.
out there as well. All right,
Yeah.
Paul, thanks so much for your time today. Editor-in-chief of Headlight.news, this is Paul Eisenstein.